man.
You do all from wedding to outdooring to funeral, Koro stop up. Church to mosque to everything, Koro stop up. Oil to gas to logistics, Koro stop up. Now I don't know. The only thing Koro hasn't stopped is briefing.
Even that.
Koro
has the ability to stop.
If we tempt Koro, you say, Master, you can't do it. The sense to say now, if you even brief, you get
even
it.
That because if it attacks you, it attacks your respiratory system.
I tell you.
So it's
no, Koro, you too, you're a champion.
Yeah.
But you will not cross April. Let's get into the headlines, people.
Front page of the Daily Graphic: lifting of partial lockdown, nation's capacity informed decision, says the president.
Okay.
Parties express mixed reactions over lifting of lockdown. Businesses open after lockdown. A very sad story, Bernard. Boy, 2 drowns in abandoned well.
The Ghanaian Times: lifting of partial lockdown, it's to save people from hardship, president explains. COVID-19, business activities bounce back in Accra, Kumasi after 3-week lockdown. NDC, TUC, others react to lifting of partial lockdown. Minister applauds Zoomlion, MMDAs, security agencies for 3-day cleanup exercise in Accra. And recall of COA FS, public raises concern.
Front page of the ABC News: on the side of truth, it says lifting of lockdown based on several factors, according to the president. Cocoa Board confident of annual syndication despite COVID-19. Government suspends demurrage and rent charges for cargo during partial lockdown. That story is also here.
Now the new crusading guide: TUC backs Akufo-Addo over lockdown ease. We will fight till Corona is eliminated, GMA assures president. FDA under fire over recall of COA FS. And COVID-19, Ghana gets $500 million debt repayment freeze from the World Bank.
Let me take you online. Lots of interesting stories. CityNewsroom.com leads with Professor Kosa from yesterday's point of view. He says, I'm disappointed over lifting of lockdown. Also, lifting of partial lockdown premature and dangerous. NDC COVID-19 team. Meanwhile, investigate bribery allegations against former GII boss. This is former tour boss, according to GII. And Akufo-Addo says a careful balance of many factors led to the lifting of the lockdown. Still on citynewsroom.com, other stories. You have what it takes to confront COVID-19. Akufo-Addo to Okoboy. Also, TUC says lifting of lockdown was the right thing to do. Meanwhile, Kumasi market closed again after traders failed to ensure social distancing. Kumasi MCE seems to be doing something right too. And then H. Kwesi Pempe writes, the president threw us a curve ball last night, didn't he? And of course, Mahama presents food items to households in Boteman and Kuluedo. If you go to citybusinessnews.com, COVID-19 social interventions should have been targeted. This is Ken Thompson. Also, CAT advocates implementation of AFTA in second quarter of 2021 due to COVID-19. And BOG directs banks SDIs not to declare dividends to shareholders amid COVID-19 troubles. MyJoyOnline.com, global health expert predicts spike in Ghana's coronavirus cases. Also, lifting lockdown in the interest of Ghanaians. GMA backs Akufo-Addo's claims. And it's an infectious disease specialist says, decision to lift lockdown makes me nervous. These are all stories on myjoyonline.com. Meanwhile, John Boydu says, ignore fake memo on MPP parliamentary primaries. There's something circulating on social media. He says it's fake. If you go to Star FM Online, they are talking BOG. Stop paying dividends to customers. BOG orders banks, financial firms. I thought dividends to shareholders, not customers. Anyhow, also call for discipline not enough. Add sanctions. Elia sorry to Akufo-Addo. And Ekwapim North records 2 new cases of coronavirus. Let me take you global. US is the lead story. Immigration to US has been halted due to the virus. This is Donald Trump. Now, oil prices turn negative as demand dries up. That's also on the BBC website. In fact, Bloomberg's headline captures it all. It says, oil spirals below zero in devastating day for global industry. Now, the question is, what does negative price for oil means? We'll tell you on the show later. Other stories, African businesses face ruin from lockdowns. That's also on Bloomberg's front page. If you go to CNN, they're talking North Korea. US is monitoring intelligence that North Korea leader is in grave danger after surgery. And then there's an interesting write-up. No, oil below $0 doesn't mean the gas station will pay you to fill up. We'll try and explain what that means on the show today. In East Africa, the lead story, Kenya starts to set up facility to treat health workers. And general election in Burundi this month is still on. And then if you go to Nigeria, the lead story there, 38 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed by NCDC. And then there are comments about Nigeria's airport to remain shut for 2 more weeks, according to their aviation minister. Finally, to Hong Kong, China's virus credit push struggles as small banks weigh lending risks. And there's an article, is China seeing the light at the end of its economic reboot tunnel? So much to talk about. Let's start with...
Okay, let me start with the TUC
Yes.
one before I get to the Ghana Medical Association. Let's
Yes.
do a lot of economy this morning.
yes,
So on
yes,
page
yes.
16 of the Daily Graphic, TUC commends President for lifting lockdown. The Trades Union Congress of Ghana has lauded the decision of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo to lift the partial lockdown of Accra, Kumasi, Tema, and Kaswa. While commending the president for his decisiveness, the organization has urged the public to adhere strictly to the safety protocols established by the World Health Organization and the Ghana Health Service to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. The Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Anthony Abba, said this when he led the leadership of the union to the Jubilee House. And according to him, the TUC had commenced the process to assess the impact of COVID-19 on employment in Ghana, adding that what we are seeing is mind-boggling as businesses are collapsing in all sectors of the economy, and many people have lost their jobs, with many more on the line until the current easing of restrictions. He said the fight against COVID-19 was a shared responsibility and that the government was doing what was right for the country.
Well, 2 groups don't agree. One is an individual, one is a political party. If you go to citynewsroom.com, Professor Kosa is disappointed over the lifting of the lockdown. He was on the Point of View yesterday, and that story is what we lead with this morning. And it reads, a former DG of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Jemabedu Akosa, says he's disappointed over President Akufo-Addo's decision to lift the lockdown imposed on the Greater Accra and parts of Kumasi. According to him, the inadequate testing centers and upsurge in COVID-19 cases in the country defeat government's decision on the lockdown. Then if you go to still that same website, NDC is basically saying lifting of partial lockdown is premature and dangerous. This is their COVID-19 team. It's a letter they wrote. The NDC's technical team on COVID-19 has joined the growing number of groups and individuals who have criticized the president's decision to lift the partial lockdown in some parts of the country. In a statement, the team said lifting of the restriction is, quote, premature and dangerous and would most likely result in a significant escalation in the cases. But the Ghana Medical Association, Kojo, they seem to support the decision as well, because there's a quote on my Joy Online. I don't know if you have it in the papers.
The story is on page 3 of the New Crusading Guide, and it says that the Ghana Medical Association has pledged its unflinching support to the government in the ongoing national fight against the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, even though the lockdown they advocated for some 21 days ago has been lifted by the president. The association made the pledge when they met with President Akufo-Addo at the Jubilee House at his invitation to pick their thoughts and concerns over the government's approach to fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. In a brief remark, Dr. Frank Ankobia, president of the Ghana Medical Association, observed that the association recognizes the difficult situation the country finds itself in, but remains loyal and fully committed to the national agenda to trace, test and treat COVID-19 patients, as well as to stop the spread of the deadly virus. Now, if you check page 12 of the Ghanaian Times, the president has been giving us details as to why he lifted the partial lockdown.
Yes, go into those.
It's to save people from hardship, President explains. And he writes that President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo says his decision to lift the partial lockdown imposed on Accra and some parts of the country 3 weeks ago is due to the economic and social impact of the restrictions on people who live from hand to mouth. He said, as president of the country, he cannot ignore the impact of the lockdown on people, especially informal workers who need to have a day out in the markets in one form or another to be able to provide for their families. Justifying the decision at a meeting with a delegation from the Ghana Medical Association at the Jubilee House, the president said the government considered all the economic, social, cultural, and health ramifications before taking the decision. And according to him, the government balanced all the factors and came out with conclusions and decisions that would protect people as well as the country's economy.
And staying with that, Bernard, if you go to page 29 of the Daily Graphic, Professor Samuel Enim has done a very interesting exercise with Ghana's data. So he's taking the data that the Ghana Health Service has been putting out, and he has analyzed it and has come out with certain recommendations. Let me just give you 3 of those.
Okay.
He says that the National Response Team on COVID-19 should engage with multiple data sources beyond risk of infection and recovery, and examine relationships and movements across different variables, such as data on mobility of persons, not only travel history, and timing of incidents of infection to inform decision-making in curbing the pandemic.
Wow.
2, efforts by the Ghana Health Service to increase testing should be supported to enhance its actualization. In addition to the targeted testing exercise that is currently being rolled out, which is non-random, a representative sample of the population should be tested to help further the plateau, to help estimate the plateau for COVID-19. Further to this, the testing should be diversified by bringing on board antibody testing. Then he also has the GHS should publish the time lag between collection of sample and release of results. Though the constraints on resources for testing are well appreciated, the aim of shortening the duration between collection of sample and release of results is to make the interventions being instituted align with the current happenings on the rate of infection. Should I add one more?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So these are recommendations.
Yes, based on his analysis of the
I like
data.
the one on the representative sample of tests.
Yes.
That's an interesting one.
And then it says 4, the GHS should publish daily rates of recovery of persons as a result of COVID-19 infection. This will engender a prediction of the total number of recoveries should the infection rate of the pandemic subside. So you can get a copy of the Daily Graphic, page 29.
Very good work.
Good work there by Professor Samuel Enim.
Now we go to
Who is he, by the way?
I don't know. They didn't. Normally they would state at the bottom of the article, but they didn't.
Okay.
Now let's check some businesses in Accra and Kumasi and how they are doing. The Ghanaian Times, businesses bounce back in Accra and Kumasi. And the story says business activities in the Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi areas have bounced back following the lifting of the 3-week partial lockdown. A visit by the Ghanaian Times to various markets and lorry stations in the areas which were affected by the lockdown revealed that bricks trading had taken off, with many shops open to serve customers. From Kaneshi, Vivian Arthur reports that some shops still remain closed, with a few present shop owners ignoring the social distancing protocol. Activities at the market were also slow, with some people seen patronizing goods and services.
Okay.
Now, from Kumasi, we are also told that businesses were open, the lorry parks were open, and bricks business was ongoing.
Okay.
Now, Eric Owusu, who is a taxi driver at the Kaneshi taxi rank of the GPRTU, said he's gone for the whole day. He went for only 2 trips, and no one is coming, so he's just parked his vehicle. Now, banks such as ADB, Societe Generale, Fidelity Bank, Access Bank were adhering to social distancing protocols, as most of the customers were given seats outside the premises and were asked to come in one after the other.
Let me take you to the BOG. Quick story. Bank of Ghana is directing SDIs not to declare dividends to shareholders amid coronavirus troubles. Now, the Bank of Ghana, this is citybusinessnews.com, has directed all banks and specialized deposit institutions to desist from declaring and paying any dividends or distributing reserves to shareholders as the country fights the COVID-19 pandemic. By this, shareholders are not expected to receive any dividends from banks and SDIs for the 2019-2020 financial year. This was in a press statement issued by the central bank, adding that the banks and SDIs are barred from making any irrevocable commitments regarding the declaration of payment of dividends to shareholders until further notice.
Well, then let me take you to the GNPC.
Yes.
Then oil business is also running here, and the GNPC says on page 28 of Graphic Business, which is part of the Daily Graphic, that it has embarked on expenditure cuts because of oil price drops, with oil prices crashing to more than a two-decade low as the coronavirus pandemic hits global demand for the commodity. GNPC is cutting costs to remain efficient and financially sound. One of the measures the corporation has adopted is to focus more on its core activities as related to its overall expenditure pattern, with drop to $27. For instance, the corporation has reduced its corporate social investment budget for $55 million for the year under review to $35 million. The chief executive, KK Sapon, discloses in an interview with Graphic Business. He noted that even within the reduced budget for CSI, certain critical projects will be undertaken, and that included building of schools and healthcare centers in selected deprived areas to enable the people to also benefit from the country's oil resources.
Now, the price of US oil has turned negative for the first time in history. This means oil producers are paying buyers to take the commodity off their hands over fears their storage capacity may run out in May. Demand for oil has all but dried up as lockdowns across the world have kept people inside. As a result, oil firms have resorted to renting tankers to store the surplus supply, and that has forced the US price of oil, or price of US oil, to go into negative territory. So the price of a barrel of West Texas Intermediate WTI, the benchmark for US oil, fell as low as minus $37.63 a barrel. The severe drop was driven in part by a technicality of the global oil markets, because oil is traded on its future price, and May future contracts are due to expire on Tuesday, Traders were keen to offload those holdings to avoid having to take delivery of the oil. But what does this mean? CNN and Bloomberg have an explainer. They're basically saying it does not mean that when you go and buy fuel at the station, they will pay you for it. It says even though a historic decline for oil sent prices negative yesterday, don't expect to get paid to fill up your gas tank anytime soon or ever, truth be told. And they say basically explain the reasons behind the oil price fall. But it then makes an important point that crude oil prices only have an indirect impact on the retail price for a gallon of gasoline, because what we get in our cars are finished products which are processed crude oil and transported. But of course that will still affect the final price you pay for a gallon.
Well, Bernard, let's go to one of the big issues that we were dealing with before coronavirus hit us: illegal mining. The new crusading guide: illegal miners flee as Elembele DCE tows excavators out of sight. The story says Mr. Kwesi Bonzo, the district chief executive for Elembele, has vowed to clamp down on illegal mining or galamsey activities in parts of the districts. To this end, he warned illegal miners in the area to halt their operations, as the District Security Council would deal ruthlessly with any galamsey operators caught at the site. Mr. Bonzo said he could not understand why such galamsey operators would not stop work and wait on the government to streamline their operations with the coming into force of the community mining project. Now, Dario Bosu of Arusha, Ghana, has been sharing maps of forest reserves which galamsey operators are still destroying,
even in the midst of corona.
But why would that change?
And if you look at the timelines, it looks as if whilst we're in lockdown, a lot of them
was heightened.
Were
working.
Forest, destroying the forest.
When the cats are away, the mice will play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, corruption. GII says investigate bribery allegations against former top boss. The Ghana Integrity Initiative has called for an independent investigation into the bribery allegations made against the former MD of Tamale Refinery, Mr. Asante Berko. Now, GII made the request in an open letter to the president dated April 20. Mr. Berko resigned on Wednesday, April 15, after he was dragged to court for allegedly making illegal payments to gain approval for a client's power plant project in Ghana. The US SEC last week charged Mr. Berko, who is a former banker at Goldman Sachs, for orchestrating a bribery scheme and arranging at least $2.5 million in bribes to be paid to Ghana government officials, and also allegedly bribing members of parliament. Then the details are given. Now, Mary Ada of the GII, in speaking to Umar Sanda, explained their rationale for asking for an independent investigation. They are saying to ensure, in the spirit of transparency and accountability, that government will publish the findings of the investigations to assist public officials and politicians to recognize and desist from similar incidences if anything untoward is found, GII said in the open letter.
And then there's a story on page 27 of the Daily Graphic: Old Fadama dwellers call on government for support. That is another story. More than 1,000 residents of Old Fadama who were displaced in last week's demolition exercise have sent a distress call for the government intervention to save their lives. While some of them have appealed to the government to support them with funds to return to their hometowns, mostly in northern Ghana, others want arrangements to temporarily accommodate them.
Kumasi market closed again after traders failed to ensure social distancing. Jonas Nyabo reports on citynewsroom.com that traders at the Dr. Mensah section of Kumasi Central Market have been moved from the market as that section has been closed again. This is because they failed to ensure social distancing, despite being allowed to return to work after the government lifted the partial lockdown of the two parts of the country. City News' Hafiz Tijani reports that about 6 a.m. on Monday, this business began, but there was little regard for COVID-19 preventive measures, including social distancing and wearing of face masks. Now, the KMA, which was not pleased about the situation, ordered the closure of the market to allow a re-strategization.
Okay, but now we have a response. Professor Samuel Enim, according to several of our texters, is the government statistician.
Oh, so he released the filler last week about the potential hotspots.
Yes.
And now he's using this information.
Yes.
Solid.
He's the government statistician.
Ghana National Fire Service supplies free water to underserved communities in Central Region.
Okay.
That's one story in there. But there's an interesting feature on page 8 of the New Crusading Guide by Gabi Asare Ochedako. And he asks, is lockdown the only science-driven option for Ghana? Now, he takes the data and does his analysis, and he's basically asking us that we should look at other options in dealing with COVID-19 in Ghana. You may want to read that.
All right.
But let me take you to Ablochi. Let's do Ablochi. Page 5 of the Daily Graphic takes us inside Africa. So Zimbabwe have extended their COVID-19 lockdown by 14 days. In South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa has condemned the theft of food meant for the poor. That's a very sad story. And an interesting one, Bernard. In Uganda, an MP has been arrested for distributing food. Let me give you that story. A Ugandan opposition member of parliament is being held by police for distributing food to his constituents over the weekend in Mityana district. Francis Zake, an independent MP, was arrested in his Mityana municipal constituency for contravening a presidential directive on food distribution during the ongoing lockdown.
There's an interesting write-up in Bloomberg written by Moses Mozart Jau, Michael Cohen, and Tokwe Alake. Africa's businesses face ruin from lockdowns, and basically the story is saying that more than half of Africa's 54 nations have ordered a total or partial lockdown, shattering millions of stores, restaurants, hair salons, and factories that lack the cash buffers they need to keep paying staff and eventually reopen. Most governments were already facing budgetary constraints and grappling with rampant unemployment before the virus hit, and it will be hard-pressed to provide bailouts, while a lack of administrative capacity will hinder the swift disbursement of international support. Now, the structure of the labor market in Africa exacerbates Africa's problem. More than 85% of the continent's workers have informal jobs, ILO data shows, rendering many ineligible for support. And those that do qualify may be unaware of available assistance due to illiteracy or inadequate advertising, or an inability to access online facilities needed to apply while confined in their homes. Now, this is the key. The fallout from the virus could place a third of the 300 million informal jobs in Africa at risk. That's 100 million jobs. This is one, and while between 9 million and 80 million formal jobs could be lost, according to McKinsey, it could also see as many as 35 million people having their wages and salaries and work and hours cut. Charlie, this is crazy, man. 100 million people?
Yeah.
Well, and so they are using ILO McKinsey figures. So 300 million informal jobs in Africa, 1/3 are at risk. Up to almost 20 million formal jobs will be lost, and 35 million people could have their wages and working hours cut.
Yeah, the finance minister ours is also saying that it will take 2 to 3 years to recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. He said, unlike the Western world's economies, which are expected to rebound from the steep decline, African countries were expected to experience the steep decline for 2 or 3 years before a gradual recover.
Finally, while all this is going on, President Donald Trump has suspended immigration to the U.S.
He has planned to. He says he's going to sign an executive
Yes, he says he will sign an executive order to temporarily suspend all immigration into the U.S. because of the coronavirus. On Twitter, he already cited the attack from the invisible enemy, as he called the virus, and the need to protect the jobs of Americans, but did not give details. Thank you, gentlemen. That was the newspaper review, Kojo and Godfred.